Ladies and gentlemen, it is your host with the biggest nose, Jay-Z Courtside, coming at y'all today on Friday, June 26th. Welcome back, everybody. I know what you guys probably wanted. You guys wanted an emergency podcast yesterday, and I would like to formally apologize. In case you guys don't know, this channel, Jay-Z Courtside, is not the only thing that I do around here. I also have my main channel, Jay-Z Uncut, where I upload documentaries edited by the best movie director, editor, producer in the game. So I was extremely busy yesterday. My apologies. On a normal day, you bet your biscuits. If a player on that caliber does get traded, I would absolutely throw up an emergency pod, but I hope it's okay. We do have a lot to talk about today. All right. We got to talk about LaMelo Ball. We got to talk about Naz Reid. We got to talk about the Hornets. We got to talk about the Timberwolves, whether it was a win for either team or whether it was a loss for both teams. We got to talk about what Detroit is planning right now by trading one of their heart and soul members of their roster. We got to talk about a bunch of free agents re-signing with their teams. We got to talk about all the teams now having a head coach. We got a lot to talk about today, y'all. So podcast listeners, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. TikTok, YouTube. Guys, be sure to drop a like, follow, subscribe, all that jazz. And Twitch chat, you guys already know. Y'all got the easiest job in the whole entire world. Sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee or an energy drink, and enjoy today's show. We're going to start off with what you guys know we're going to start off with, right? LaMelo Ball was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Naz Reid and a future first. If you want to know the exact details of this trade, they also swapped 3 first-round picks and swapped 3 second-round picks. Swaps don't really mean a whole lot, especially they won't mean a whole lot. But basically, it was for LaMelo Ball, right? For Naz Reid plus a pick. And I guess Naz Reid and a pick for LaMelo Ball. Now, this trade, when it jumped off the screen for me, is I did so much thinking, and I'm sort of glad that I didn't go live yesterday and talk about it immediately, because it took me some time to realize all the ins and outs of this trade and my full opinion on it. Okay, so let's purely talk about these two players after last season. All right, let's talk about what they did first. LaMelo Ball averaged 20 points, almost 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal. He played 28 minutes a game. He shot 40% from the field and 37% from 3. 54% true shooting. Not great for your lead point guard. Not great. Okay. Oh, there were no swaps for the second round picks. My apologies. Thank you for the correction, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, you are correct. There are no swaps for the second round picks. So the package was for LaMelo Ball, Naz Reid, 1 first round pick in 2033, 3 first round pick swaps, and 3 second round picks. I appreciate it. Thank you. And then Naz Reid's averages from last year in 26 minutes, basically the same amount of minutes as LaMelo. He got 13.5 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. And again, a very off season for Naz Reid. 45% from the field, 36% from 3, 73% from the free throw line, only a 56% true shooting for a guy that's 6'9". He's listed 6'9". He's really 6'10", 6'11". I'm not in love with either player's last season. Now, let's talk about why each team did this. All right. I don't need to just a quick recap. The Minnesota Timberwolves traded Julius Randle for essentially cap space. Then they re-signed Ayo Dosunmu. So on Wednesday's stream, I told you guys that this is great. Looks like they got their point guard. He's a hybrid. They don't really need another point guard now. They just paid Ayo Dosunmu starters money. They paid him $125 million for 5 years. They extended Ayo, so I figured, okay, they just gave him $25 million a year. That's starter money. That is starter money. So he's definitely going to start next year. And then they went and did this. So now people are telling me that Ayo is going to be a 6-man. Ladies and gentlemen, that will be the highest paid 6-man in NBA history. I need you guys to understand that. Is Ayo Dosunmu that good for having 1 great game in the playoffs? I'm sorry, but that's a lot of money for a 6-man, for a potential 6-man. Dante DiVincenzo went down with an Achilles injury. They weren't going to lose Ayo for nothing. But my issue is I thought it was 112 million. Thank you. But my point of thinking was you got your point guard. You don't need another one now. And then they went and traded for LaMelo. So let's talk about why Minnesota did this. Now, all summer, all last summer, all the last summer before that, all the summer before that, it has been 3 years where my friends and I have been talking to each other and saying, man, all Minnesota needs now is a point guard. They need a point guard. They need a point guard. Every superstar, let's go through it real quick, y'all. Every star point guard in today's NBA needs another ball handler next to them or a facilitator to win basketball games. Do you want to go through things? Let's talk about it. Let's look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. AJ Mitchell and J-Dub were their secondary and third. I don't know how to, what is it? Third. It's not third area. Is it? I think it's like fiduciary or some bullshit like that. They lost their second and their third whatever. I don't care. Turt. We're going to say Turt. All right. They were missing their second ball handler and their third ball handler in AJ Mitchell and J-Dub. And what happened to the Oklahoma City Thunder? They lost. It's tertiary. Thank you. Thank you very much. Tertiary. So the Thunder were missing their secondary and tertiary ball handlers, and they lost in the second round, in the conference finals. Okay. Shea had to do everything himself, and they didn't have another shot creator or another facilitator or another ball handler. So they lost. Let's look at the Detroit Pistons. They had Cade Cunningham, and that's right. So they lost in the second round in Game 7 to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now let's look at the New York Knicks. They realized very early on in the playoffs, even though I said it all year long, Brunson ball does not work. You can do it in the fourth quarter, but you cannot do it all year. You cannot do it all 16 games in the playoffs. They fell down 2-1 against the Atlanta Hawks. So what did they do? They started playing through Cat. Cat was the secondary facilitator. Cat was the secondary playmaker. Okay. And then they won the NBA championship. So Minnesota did what we wanted them to do, and they got another shot creator, facilitator, ball handler, playmaker next to Anthony Edwards. The main issue is you traded Julius Randle, who, with all due respect, I understand. And then I was like, you know what? I like Naz Reid starting. I really like that. And then they went and traded him as well. Now, people always ask me to grade these trades, right? Grade it. What would you grade it? I can't grade this yet. I can't. My biggest issue is Minnesota's not going to be done yet. They're not. Because there is no way in hell that Kyle Slow-Mo Anderson is going to be starting at their power forward spot, right? There's no way. There is no way. So as far as Minnesota making this trade, I got to be honest, y'all. For now, they lost this trade. For now, they lost this trade. They did. Jaden McDaniels is not a power forward, ladies and gentlemen. He is not a power forward, especially in the West. He's not. That's the Pistons playing Asar Thompson at the 4. You can't do it anymore. Is the power forward spot dead all of a sudden? No, you're still going to have to go up against Isaiah Stewart. Who the hell? Karl Anthony Towns. All these guys, I guess Cat's technically a 5. All these big body 4s, you're going to have to. Now, of course, free agency starts. So if they can somehow get a John Collins, then I can say that they're a winner. But for now, they lost this side of the trade. They did. They did. Now let's talk about the Charlotte Hornets. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. As far as the Hornets did this, why I can explain. They can't afford Lauri Markkanen, just so TikTok knows. He's making $50 million a year. Just so I can explain why they did this. Okay? And people in the TikTok are saying, you're tripping. You're just talking. Let me explain. LaMelo Ball. Well, the Hornets did what I wanted them to do. And I got called stupid. I got told, you don't know ball. Everybody in the TikTok, everybody in the YouTube. The only people that agreed with me are my Twitch viewers, and that's why I love you guys, because you guys know ball. I said over and over and over again all season long, generational sell high. I can't wait until LaMelo Ball's traded in the summer. Guess what? I was right. And I have proof. I have all the proof in the world. I got my shorts that I posted, and everybody was telling me, you're stupid. You don't know ball. I hate when people that don't watch basketball talk about basketball. And I told everybody, you guys are not ready for what's going to happen. And here you go. Let me just play my short. But yeah, this year is going to be very telling. If they don't get it done this year, they're going to make a lot of moves, ladies and gentlemen. If they don't get that's not even the right short. My apologies. I don't know why YouTube. Okay, I don't know why YouTube is bugging like this. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. It's about to pull up. There you go. Guys, he is a rookie, and he might put up a 50, 40, 90. This is unheard of. He's averaging 19 points as a rookie, 5.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, almost a steal. He's shooting 48% from the field, but that's not even the best part. He's averaging 42% from deep. Kind of crazy to say this. Their rookie, Knips, set a record as the— Mind you, I said this in the midst of all of their success. I said this in the midst of all of their success. All of it. They won like all those games. Their starting lineup was, I think, like 22-1. And I said it in the midst of this entire winning streak. And I said, they're going to trade LaMelo. Fastest player in NBA history to reach 100 3-pointers. I mean, what's he attempting? He's a rookie. Get ready. He's probably attempting like 2 threes a game, right? He's averaging 8 3-point attempts a night. He's the first ever rookie to be attempting that many threes a night. It's time. It's time to move on from LaMelo Ball. I think at this point, you have Knips. Let's just start. Top comment. You can always tell people who don't watch basketball. LaMelo's the reason everybody looks great. There's no heart. And of course, everybody was arguing in the comment section in there. I have been explaining over and over again, LaMelo Ball is not going to be a key star in this NBA. He's not. Let's talk about it. LaMelo Ball just played his most games in 5 years. He just played his most games in 5 years. He played 72 games last year. They shrunk his minutes down to 28 minutes a game. I need to remind everybody here, the Hornets knew what they were doing. They were very smart for this, okay? I don't care how many points he was averaging on whatever percentages. I don't care. Because they knew what they were doing. Multiple times throughout the year, they were bringing him off the bench. If you guys watch the Hornets, like I did, you know that they were barely playing LaMelo. There were games that they were winning or they were losing, and he wouldn't get back onto the court. They played him his lowest minutes of his entire NBA career last year. Look, the guy in the TikTok is calling me ignorant and I don't know ball. He played in his 6th year, his lowest minutes in his entire NBA career. People in the TikTok, there's 300 of y'all over there, and you guys are all calling me dumb. LaMelo was coming off of the bench for a lot of games in this year, okay? And on top of that, he just played the least amount of minutes in his entire NBA career, but he played his most games in 5 years. The Hornets knew what they were doing. They sold high on LaMelo Ball. They sold high on him. Generational sell high. I got to explain to y'all. LaMelo, they know he's not a serious player. They know. He can't hit a layup. This guy can't finish at the hoop. He is in the bottom 2% at finishing for every point guard in the entire NBA. Yes, he's a better basketball player than me, TikTok. Yes, you got me there. He is a bottom, I think it was 3%. Bottom 3% at finishing as a starting point guard in the entire NBA. Does LaMelo have swag? Does he have aura, as the 12-year-olds like to say? No. In my opinion, no, he doesn't. How old is he? He's 24. Listen, LaMelo Ball is not a serious basketball player. He's not. He's not. I think he's incredibly overrated by the youngsters. I think he is. LaMelo Ball, does the trade make sense for the Hornets? No, it doesn't. My Hornets fans that are upset that they traded LaMelo, you should be. You absolutely should be. You should be upset that they traded him. Because you didn't win this trade either. I've been saying trade LaMelo, Sure. But that's not what I meant by trade LaMelo. You got a power forward who just had his regression year, who is making six-figure, I guess, hundreds of millions of dollars. LaMelo Ball has how many playoff wins in his entire career? That's right. But he's a bucket. But JC, he's a bucket. He's a bucket. Listen, if you guys remember the trade packages that were offered for LaMelo last year, it was a first round pick and 2 seconds. That's what the package was, because he had no value. So when I say that it was a generational sell high, they got a player, they got that first round pick, and they got 3 additional second round picks for a guy they know won't be healthy. But Jay-Z, he's a bucket. He's got aura. LaMelo will be better in Minnesota. My biggest issue is that Rudy Gobert is going to have the hardest job of his entire career. Because LaMelo doesn't play defense. In fact, he's a horrible defender. And he's like, what, 6'7", 6'8"? Whatever he is. He's 6'7", 180 pounds. He's going into his 7th year in his NBA career. He plays no defense. Anthony Edwards played no defense last year, as we all know. Played no defense all last year. Anthony Edwards will be better offensively because of this, if LaMelo can stay healthy, because it's a big if, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big if. It's a huge if. I don't care he played 72 games last year. He played 47 the year before, 22 the year before that, 36 the year before that. You have to go back 5 years ago. And even then, he still played more minutes, 4 more minutes a game. Ladies and gentlemen, LaMelo Ball only played 28 minutes a game. 28 minutes. Can I put that into some perspective for you guys so you can understand how little that is? Now, I'm not saying Cade needs to play this many minutes, but Cade is he's a year younger than LaMelo, and he was averaging 34 minutes in the regular season. And in the playoffs, he was averaging 41 minutes. My poor sweet Prince Cade, he was playing with 3 fractured ribs after his lung collapsed. He was playing with 3 fractured ribs in the playoffs. And they burned him 41 minutes a game. Do you genuinely believe LaMelo Ball is capable of playing 40 minutes? Oh, but that's why they have Io. They overpaid on Io because they just brought in LaMelo Ball. So I said the Timberwolves lost this trade. Guess what? Probably makes it sound like the Hornets won this trade, right? They did it. This is a lose-lose trade. I'm sorry. Both teams got what they needed, but they did it by trading away assets that they could have used. I don't like this trade for either of these teams. Now, for which teams I think can improve more, I think they both can improve. Both of these are lose-lose now. But tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, I think both of them can be winners of this trade as well. If the Timberwolves can get a competent starting 4, John Collins maybe. If the Hornets can get a good starting point guard, Ja Morant, I'm sorry, it's probably going to be Ja Morant. They're going to think they have enough shooting now, and they're probably going to target Ja Morant. You guys heard it here first. Ja Morant's probably a Hornet. So, I think if both these teams add somebody after they just lost somebody, I think they both can be winners of this trade. Now, I would like to note, I'm rooting for both LaMelo. I'm rooting for both Naz Reid and LaMelo. I want them both to succeed, and most importantly, I want LaMelo Ball to be healthy. 28 minutes a game from your starting point guard, and you just played the most games of your entire career and just had your worst true shooting into your entire career as well. I'm not in love with that. And Naz Reid also regressed after he got paid. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. We shall see, and I'm excited for next season for both these teams. Just JD, thank you so much for the follow on Twitch. Same with you, Sever. Thank you, boys, both so much for the follows on Twitch. Shout out to you guys that are leaving the TikTok and coming through to the Twitch stream. I appreciate you boys very, very much. If you guys have any other questions on this, please let me know. I'd love to answer before we do move on to our next trade that we got to talk about. I think Rudy Gobert is going to have a very, very hard job on this team. As long as his hands don't stay stone forever, I think he'll get some easy buckets because, as we all know, Rudy Gobert is not going to get his own bucket. He's a finishing guy. He's a finishing guy. So whether it's alley-oops or putbacks, I think John Collins will help them tremendously. I need you all to understand that. I think John Collins will probably be their number one free agent guy that they should go for as far as the Timberwolves go. But I also think the Pistons should be targeting him as well. Zacho said, by the way, I read my I read my Twitch chat. So if you guys have a question, come through here and ask. Friend thinks that they're going to the chip because Wolves had the Spurs in. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't understand that comment at all. Next, anybody else have any questions on this? I have a question. How do we think LaMelo and Ant going to play next season? I think they're going to be a good duo. I think they're going to be a really good duo offensively. Ant is not a good playmaker. LaMelo Ball is. LaMelo Ball is a very good playmaker. So I think it'll relieve the stress of Anthony Edwards tremendously on that end. Ant needed a passer. Ant needed somebody else to bring the ball up the court. Ant's going to be living. He's going to be living very happy in this because of this trade. He's just going to need to remember to play defense again. He hasn't played defense all last year. Hopefully he steps up his defense back to how it used to be. Why wouldn't they give them a chance to build chemistry, Jay-Z, with LaMelo and Brandon Miller and Khan? They did, and they sold high on LaMelo Ball. They didn't think that he was going to be able to replicate what he just did this year. And honestly, they still didn't make the playoffs. So I don't really blame them. I don't blame them. Liam said, I feel like Ja's getting a lot of bad run. None of it is unwarranted, but I think we're forgetting Ja had 2 back-to-back seasons of being an all-star voted and made it all-NBA second team. When was that? 4 years ago? That's why people are talking about that way, Liam. Plus, his three-point shooting is significantly one of the worst three-point shooters that takes them with volume in the entire league. Genuinely. Do you think Terrence Shannon is going to take the next step? Absolutely. Yeah. Him and JC are. I love those guys as players. Do you think Miles Bridges is gone too? I think that's a good bet. They got Naz Reid. They don't need Miles Bridges anymore. I think that's a great. That's a great. I see that happening. And to be fair, Miles Bridges is a great player. I just hate him as a person. You'll never hear me say anything good about Miles Bridges, even if he was on my team. Let's see. You can always tell he's tired because he has to give the ball on. Yes, he's got to bring the ball up the court on offense every play. Yeah. Apparently, Toronto were also front runners for balls along with Minnie. What was their offer, and do you think they could have benefited off having him? Yeah, Toronto needs a point guard, and they could have really benefited off of LaMelo Ball, but they like the Timberwolves offer more. They did. All right, guys, that's all the questions we're going to take right now. TikTok, if you guys are enjoying today's stream and you want to ask questions as well, or talk with me and talk with the rest of the community, be sure to come through to the Twitch stream because I am ending the TikTok. That's Jay-Z Uncut. I hope to see you guys come through to the Twitch stream. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on. We are ending the TikTok. Come through to the Twitch. I'm just doing that to bait some guys to come to the Twitch. Let's move on to our next trade. All right, actually, you know what? Before we move to our next trade, I want to start with this re-signing of a player. Okay. Before we talk about the next trade, I want to talk about Austin Reeves getting signed by the Los Angeles Lakers. All right. I got to talk about this. So Austin Reeves was a restricted free agent, and it was reported that the Pistons were targeting him heavily. And because the Pistons were targeting him heavily, you guys are going to laugh at this. They were offering him $30 million. And they agreed on that with Austin. But then the Pistons got involved. And this is confirmed, by the way. The Pistons got involved in this. So the Lakers had to offer him $16 million more a year just to get him. I'm not kidding. $16 million a year. So now, instead of paying him $30 million, they have to pay him $46 million for Austin Reeves. If you guys have any more questions on the previous trade, stay tuned. Stay till after today's podcast, and I can answer all the questions. Okay, let's talk about Austin Reeves. Now, I've talked about Austin Reeves quite a bit this year, all right? I've talked about him quite a bit. And I'm going to say something, and I've said it throughout the year, so I don't want anybody thinking that I'm acting brand new, okay? I think Austin Reeves is the most overrated player in the entire NBA. I think he is. Don't get offended. I didn't say he's bad. I did not say Austin Reeves is a bad player. But I do believe he is the most overrated player in the entire league. You guys want an explanation? Let me explain. Austin Reeves was making nothing. He was making no money. And by averaging 20 points a game with making no money, it was great. It was great. He's making no money and he's averaging 20 points a game. We love Austin Reeves. He's one of the best shooting guards in the entire NBA. God, you just took my line away. Thanks a lot, J-Dug. One of Austin Reeves' big benefits is that he has a better whistle than most superstars in the league. He's got a better whistle than Finals MVP Jalen Brunson. He's got a better whistle than Cade Cunningham, All NBA first team. He's got a better whistle than 95% of all starters in the entire association. He averages 7.5 free throws per game. You know why? It's because he's on the Los Angeles Lakers. And that is a proven fact that since the year 2000, the Los Angeles Lakers have, I think, 4,000 or 5,000 more free throws than second place in most free throws. Let's talk about Austin Reeves as a player. I think he's a good player. My main issue with Austin Reeves is he's had one playoff opportunity in his career. Or sorry, not one, but he has had 4 playoff opportunities in his career, right? And when you look at all of these games, I want to show you his playoff numbers. So in 2022-23, he played 16 games. He averaged less than 17 points. And his efficiency was 46% from the field and 44% from 3. Incredible. They were laughing. The next year, they lost in 5 games. 16.5 points. Field goal percentage went up to 46.5%. His 3-point percentage, stinky. 26% from 3. The next year, in 2024-2025, they lost in 5 games. His points went down to 16 points per game. His field goal percentage dropped to 41%. He just dropped by 7%. His 3-point percentage, 31%. Ladies and gentlemen, these are Asar Thompson 3-point percentages. Not Asar Thompson volume. He's taken 9.5 a game. He took 9.5 a game and shot 31% from 3. Would you rather Ron Holland or Austin Reeves take threes? And then last year, in 6 games of the playoffs, he averaged 20 points flat. 40% from the field. Field goal percentage dropped again. And get this, on 6 3-point attempts a game, he shot 25% from 3. So I'm going to repeat myself one more time. There's a big difference between an 82-game player and a 16-game player. Mind you, he's not a 16-game player. They never make it 16 wins in. He's a 5-game player in the playoffs, and even then, his 3-point percentage is 1 for 4. For his playoff career, he's shooting just over 25% from 3 in the playoffs, and he is making $50 million. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, $50 million to shoot like Asar Thompson in the playoffs. Are we serious here? Does anybody not understand? Does anybody not hear me? $50 million to shoot like Asar Thompson. Listen, it's cool when a guy making no money, you can forgive him for shooting poorly. He's not giving you the historical defense that Asar Thompson has given you either. He's given you one of the worst defenders in the entire NBA. So let's go through Austin Reeves real quick. One of the worst defenders in the entire league. One of the worst playoff droppers in the entire league. And do you think it can get better? Because it doesn't. He played 51 games last year. 51. So now he's got injury issues. And they just paid him $50 million. Now, if you're wondering why they did this, you got to keep Luka Doncic happy. You got to. You got to keep Luka happy. But I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, Lakers fans love him because he's not making money and he puts up 20 points per game in the regular season. But he's been only in the league for 5 years. He's young. He's 28 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, I am 2 months older than Austin Reeves. He's 28. This is his 5th year. He was an old rookie, undrafted. So everything I've said, one of the worst defenders in the league, one of the worst playoff droppers in the league, bad health track record. And he's 28 years old, and you just paid him $50 million a year. Thank God the Lakers offered him that, because I didn't want to give him that. That's insane. That is insane. Do I think Austin Reeves is a good basketball player? I do. He's just madly overrated because he wears yellow. Lakers fans, they loved him when he was making no money. But oh boy, oh how. If you have a bad game, if you get hurt, Lakers fans, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's cool when he was averaging 20 a game, making no money. But now he's making 50 M's. Go ahead for me and look at all the players in the NBA making 50 M's and tell me, in those bad games, in those inefficient games, in the injury-riddled seasons, is it worth 50 M's? I can tell you right now, it's not. Do I like Austin Reeves? Yeah. He's just overrated. Crazy overrated because he wears yellow. Now, ladies and gents, let's talk about another big trade. I'm calling it a big trade. The Detroit Pistons are trading Isaiah Stewart to the Memphis Grizzlies for 3 future second-round picks. Now, I want to talk about Isaiah Stewart. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to Beef Stew. I realized I spelled his name wrong as well as in the lower third. My apologies. I forgot an A. Beef Stew, man. And they changed his color already on StatMuse. I got to tell y'all about Beef Stew, man. He's going to thrive. In Memphis, he's going to thrive. I was hoping he went to the Celtics, to be honest. I was really hoping the Celtics would have grabbed him. Because Beef Stew, he had $30 million left on his deal. He was making $15 million this summer, $15 million next summer. So the Pistons did this for cap space. If you guys really want to know how this trade worked, okay, I'm sorry. I got really put off topic because I read a comment. Hey, Mark, do you understand what Paul Reed did to you guys in that first round series? You just called the Pistons front court barbecue chicken. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. I got to put this Magic fan in his place because he insulted my team. Let's just go ahead and look at what Paul Reed did to you guys, because Paul Reed now is our backup center. So I just got to look back at what Paul Reed did to y'all in that series before. He was a plus. Oh, man, he barely played in that series. 2 minutes, 11 minutes, 7 minutes. He barely played. Okay, so I guess it was mostly against the Cavs. But regardless, he was a big part of that choke in game 6 that cooked you guys. He was the reason why we came back and beat you guys. Anyways, wait, where was I? I was talking about Isaiah Stewart. Now, I will say this. Paul Reed is better than Isaiah Stewart. TikTok said, this is literally not live. Hey, Jason, suck me, bruh. Isaiah Stewart is not as good as Paul Reed. And it pains me to say that. Really pains me to say that. Paul Reed is better than Beef Stew. He is. Isaiah Stewart, if you guys look at his career, as much as he was the heart and soul of the Pistons team, he was hurt every single year. We made the playoffs the last 2 years. Swervo, please, let me educate you. Because Paul Reed is significantly better than Isaiah Stewart. Because you know what the best ability is, Swervo? Availability, my friend. Availability is the best ability. Isaiah Stewart last year, 58 games. Isaiah Stewart the year before, 72, but he missed the playoffs, the most important time of the year. Isaiah Stewart the year before that, 46 games. Isaiah Stewart the year before that, 50 games. I'm sorry, Beef Stew. He always broke down as we got closer to the end of the season. He always broke down. Isaiah Stewart is going to be utilized very, very well in Memphis. He's going to be taking threes. He's going to be taking many more threes. I think Isaiah Stewart was ready to move on from Detroit as well. In case you guys don't remember, Paul Reed, he got benched because of Paul Reed. Even Jalen Duren got benched because of Paul Reed. That's how good Paul Reed is. And for some of you guys saying, Jay-Z, that was just a flash in the pan. Paul Reed didn't have a single bad game all year. Every time he played, he stepped up and won us games. Smaller contract than Beef Stew as well. Paul Reed is an elite big man. He could be starting on more than half of the teams in the NBA. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. He can be starting for the Boston Celtics. He can be starting for the Los Angeles Lakers. Paul Reed is that good. He's that good. And I'm not insulting Nemish Queta. I'm not insulting DeAndre Ayton. He could be starting for the Phoenix Suns. He could be starting for the Brooklyn Nets. He could be starting for the New Orleans Pelicans. He could be starting for the Los Angeles Clippers. He can be starting for the Golden State Warriors. He can be starting for, shall I go on? Shall I go on? You guys freaked out when I said half. Shall I go on? He's starting over Mark Williams every day of the week. Is he starting for the Mavs? Who they got? Injured Derek Lively, injured Daniel Gafford? Yeah, he started for the Mavs as well. He'd be starting on, let me just keep going through teams, man. Should I just look at every single team in the NBA and look? Because Paul Reed's per 36 is better than all of your starting centers. I just need you guys to understand that. There's no biases. There's no biases at all when I'm saying this, like at all. His per 36 is ridiculous. I think per 36, Buddy's averaging like 24 points, like 11 rebounds. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Paul Reed is like that. Now, back to Isaiah Stewart. I love Beef Stew. I love what he did for the city. He embraced us like crazy. I'm going to miss him a lot. I really am going to miss Isaiah Stewart a lot. He was our longest tenured Piston, but unfortunately for Stu, he was always hurt going into the playoffs. He was always hurt at the tail end of the year, and he got benched by Paul Reed. And it just hurts. He had an 8-block game against Orlando. I got to repeat myself. He had an 8-block game against Orlando. And then after that game, because he got hurt, he only had 2 blocks for the rest of the playoffs. I'm going to miss Isaiah Stewart a lot, but I think he wants to be taking more threes. He wants to be doing more offensively. He averaged 10 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and almost 2 blocks per game. And I do need to say this as well. Isaiah Stewart is the best shot blocker in the entire NBA, not named Victor Wembanyama. And if you know basketball, you know there's no biases. There's no exaggeration when I say that. Isaiah Stewart is the best shot blocker in the entire association, not named Victor Wembanyama. He is an all-defensive first team if he played enough minutes and he played enough games. It's sad. He's an all-defensive player. He's that good defensively. And I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him a lot. But it was a good trade. Now, if you Pistons fans need to understand this trade a little bit more, it was basically Isaiah Stewart and our 21st overall pick for Ibuka Okori, which I think it's a good trade. Now, this trade means that the Pistons just opened up 15 more million off of their cap space. The Pistons have $85 million to play with this summer. I got to repeat myself. They have $85 million to play with this summer. And they just won 60 games last year. And they have $85 million to play with. Now, Jalen Duren's probably going to be getting 30 to 40 out of that. But that means this team still has $45 million to play with for the rest of the summer. $45 million. So if they extend Asar, that money doesn't count towards this summer. That counts towards next summer. You can afford pretty much any player you want in the NBA. You can afford multiple players in the NBA. I'm talking about the TPE. I'm talking about the trade exemption. I'm talking about the MLE. I'm talking about everything. I hope they don't. I hope their big move isn't Norman Powell sign and trade, because then that's very bad. I still think Tyler Hero is probably the most realistic player that the Pistons are gonna get. But I just want to remind y'all, this trade for Stu, if you want to talk big moves, I'm talking big moves. It's Devin Booker, Jaylen Brown, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving. Do I see any of those happening? No. So a realistic move is going to be Tyler Hero. And I'd like Norman Powell, but I don't want Norman Powell to be the big move. Tyler Hero would fix everything the Pistons need as far as offensively. So I'm excited. I'm going to miss B Stu, but I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. And yeah, people are talking about the Jalen Duren sign and trade. I don't think they should do that. He's 22 years old. He was the third best center in the entire NBA last year. Don't count the playoffs. I don't think you should trade him yet. Sign him, give him a year, and see what happens. I'm very, very excited. Mir, thank you for the comment and thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. Blazers hire the Wolves assistant Micah Nori as their new head coach. I jinxed this. I forgot to talk about it, so I got to talk about it today. I literally said the other day that the Trailblazers are the only team without a head coach. And then they went and got Micah Nori. Now, he's a really good coach. In case you guys don't remember, Chris Finch got hurt and he filled his place when Chris Finch got hurt. He's a pretty good coach. I hear he's a player's coach as well, and that's sort of what you need to be. Now, unfortunately, I got to talk about the contract. Do you guys know what the contract is? You guys remember Paul Dundon, right? Paul Dundon, the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, the new owner of the Portland Trailblazers. Bro, this guy said he wanted a discount on a head coach, right? Do y'all understand the deal that he made with Micah Nori? Do you guys understand? Bro, he signed him to a 1-year deal. A 1-year deal. Second year is a team option, and the third year is a team option. Bro, I have never in NBA history has anybody ever signed a 1-year deal with 2 team options. That has never happened. Ever. That does not happen in the NBA. I don't know if that happens in sports. Does that happen in MLB with managers? I have no idea. Bro, your coach is on a team option for 2 years. You signed him to a 1-year deal. I know Paul Dundon is cheap, but are we serious? A 1-year deal for a head coach? Listen, I think he's a fine coach. But my problem with this is the Portland Trailblazers were a 500 team last year. Are you telling me if they are below 500, does he just let him go? What happens? I can understand if they won like 15 games last year and then they won 20. It's like, yeah, okay, you improved. Nice, you're back. But they were a 500 team. They won 40 some games last year. What if you get the same amount of wins as last year? What happens then? I don't know, man. Paul Dundon is a weirdo. I feel for Blazers fans, but we also I don't think we got any real Blazers fans in our community. I don't understand why he did this. I don't understand, but shout out Micah Nori. He deserves this. Now, guys, let's finish the week off by talking about everything. All right? Everything. We're going to handle this with some speed. All right. Mark Williams is going to sign a 3-year, $38 million deal to return to the Phoenix Suns. Buddy played 23 and a half minutes for them and averaged 11 and 8. And he's being paid $38 million. The Phoenix Suns, we'll get back to the Phoenix Suns in a bit. Kobe White is signing a 3-year, $74 million deal to return to the Charlotte Hornets. Good for Kobe. Good for Kobe. I'm not saying it was a good deal for the team, but good for Kobe because he hasn't had a big deal in his NBA career. So good for him. He was obviously good for the Hornets. So I don't think it's a bad move. Obviously, we talked about LaMelo. We talked about Nas. Uh, I saw such a funny tweet about this next pickup. Somebody said teams are trading for LaMelo Ball and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Warriors are re-signing a guy with sciatica that runs like he's got shit in his ass. 97-year-old Al Horford is signing a 2-year, $14 million deal to sign with the Golden State Warriors. He's the 13th player in NBA history to play 47 seasons in the NBA. If you want to join the Discord, you got to join the Twitch stream first. Shout out Big Al, man. Shout out Big Al. Obviously, there were a bunch of... You know what's insane? Every second-round pick was traded. In the second round, every single second-round pick was traded. There were a couple good guys that I saw. I can already see all the memes that we're going to say about Ugana Onyenso for the Pistons. Ugana, right? I think, yeah. There's a lot of good second-round picks, but they were all traded. Except for Toronto. Yeah, I guess. I didn't know that. We talked about Austin Reeves. Let's talk about more. What else happened? I know I'm missing things. Obviously, we talked about Giannis. We talked about Io. I don't think I talked about Colin Gillespie and Jordan Goodwin. Those are the only guys that I forgot that I didn't talk about them. And I know they were a few days ago, but I do want to mention them. Colin Gillespie and Jordan Goodwin were brought back for the Phoenix Suns. Jordan Goodwin signed a 3-year, $19 million deal. Jordan Goodwin's not young, by the way. He's not young. He's going to be 30 in the middle of this deal. And then Colin Gillespie honestly took a pretty big discount. I thought Colin Gillespie would get more money out of this, but I think he gave them a discount for believing in him. So I'm not mad at him. 4 years, $48 million by the Phoenix Suns. I think that's a great pickup. My only problem is that the Phoenix Suns suck and they have no plan. I think they should just sell high on Devin Booker and move on. And yeah, they have no plan. They have no plan at all. I feel for Suns fans. You guys are just running it back with the same team last year. No plan. You haven't traded Jalen Green. You haven't traded Dylan Brooks. You haven't traded Devin Booker. This is very unfortunate. They have no plan. They have the worst plan out of any team in the NBA, y'all. They have the worst plan out of any team in the NBA. I'm talking even worse than the Kings. They're not going to be worse than the Kings, but they have an even worse future plan than the Kings. Worse. They do. They got no picks. They got no young, promising talent, unless you count Koa Pete. They got nothing. At least the Kings have Darius Acuff. They got nothing. They got no plan, no picks, no young talent, nothing. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Now, yeah, I guess you got, yeah. Anywho. Yes, I saw that DeMar DeRozan is probably going to get released. Yes. Guys, that's going to do it. That's going to do it. That's all I got for y'all this week. Did anything happen while we were live? I'm sure you guys would have notified me. Nothing has happened while I've been live. Awesome. Listen, TikTok, we are ending that stream. If you guys want more stream, be sure to come through to the Twitch stream. We already talked about Austin Reeves and everybody else. TikTok, we are ending the TikTok. If you guys want more stream, come through to the Twitch. Jay-Z Uncut on the Twitch. Guys, that is going to do it for today's podcast. We will be back Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, as you guys all know. Yeah, supposedly contract negotiations have gone bad for Duran, when just this morning I saw the conversations were going, and I quote, swimmingly well. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's going to do it for this week. We're going to be back Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Chat, Twitch chat, be sure to stick around because the stream's not over. The podcast is almost over. Podcast listeners, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. Share the podcast with your friends, your family, your neighbors, everybody. I think this week was a really good week. We did 4 episodes. We're only supposed to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but because Giannis got traded, we went live on Tuesday. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I appreciate all of you guys very, very much. Thank you for sticking around with us through the off season. It's been a very exciting one. We got some good and fun planned series coming to y'all, but I didn't really want to do them in the middle of like the draft and all these high octane trades. Trades are going to start slowing down. So I got some fun series for all your teams. If you feel like I haven't talked enough about the Jazz, don't worry, we're going to talk about them. If you feel like we haven't talked enough about the Wizards, don't worry, we're going to talk about them. If you feel like I haven't talked about enough Golden State or Milwaukee or any of these other teams, don't worry, we're going to talk about them. Ladies and gentlemen, I got nothing left to say except for thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as always, thank you guys for watching / listening. And I will catch you guys Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Love y'all.